Hey everybody, I'm Jackson.
And I'm Lauren.
And this is Who It At?
The Masked Singer Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to
Who It At?
The Masked Singer Podcast. So, if you are listening right now, which you are, you can hear that Lauren sounds a little bit different. So Lauren, how about you explain to the folks what you're up to and what you're doing right now?
Yeah, so back in January, Jackson and I got cast in this short film. I guess it's kind of long for a short film. It's like 20 minutes. But so Jackson's part shot last weekend in Los Angeles, and my part is shooting this weekend in San Francisco. So I made the trek up to San Francisco. Our travel day was today. I shoot tomorrow, and I am in an Airbnb on the phone.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Correct. So this is actually the first episode in like forever that Lauren and I have not watched together. So it was strange for sure. Like I still got to watch it with most of our housemates, of course, but Lauren unfortunately had to watch it alone. But
I was watching it. I was probably, 30, 40 minutes or something in the episode ahead of where all of them were. And this episid had me shook to my core.
Absolutely shook. This was...
And I was like, Jackson, I want to tell you everything, but I can't.
I know. This was absolutely the craziest episode we have seen so far. Bar none. This was the craziest.
Oh, yeah.
This was the most
Maybe
surprising.
Ever.
Yeah. I'll say it. This had the best performances of any episode so far. And it had the best overall performances, I will say. It made it very difficult.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
For a double elimination.
This was the hardest elimination for sure.
Absolutely.
If it was only a single, it would not have been hard. Sorry, person who got out.
Correct.
I guess you shouldn't say it.
Correct. Yeah. That's smart. No, but we will get into that for sure. A few housekeeping things really quick because, of course, we have a lot to talk about, even though there were only 4 performances. Follow us on socials, pretty please, at Who Is That Pod on Instagram and Twitter. If you have anything to email us about, if you want to talk to us about something, what's our email, Lauren? I forget.
It is whoisthatpod@gmail.com.
That's
so
right.
Same as the socials.
That's correct. Do we have any reviews? Have you checked if we have any new reviews?
Oh, you know what? We actually do from my dear friend Cody.
Oh, do we really? No way.
Yeah, he wrote a really sweet review, actually. Yeah, let me pull it up real quick.
Well, thank you, Cody. I will entertain the folks with a joke. Hold
on.
What has 4 legs and is fluffy? It's a dog. God, that one was off the dome, folks. I am incredible.
Wow.
What did y'all think of the show tonight?
A comedy genius.
Definitely leave. We're gonna make a post tomorrow for sure. So definitely leave us in the comments what y'all thought about this show. Because once again, both Lauren and I agree it was one of the craziest shows we've had so far. What do you think about the people who got out? Which I have many opinions. I have
many thoughts.
And we will continue. What do you think for the rest of the show too? Just definitely, we love interacting with y'all. So definitely either email us or comment on our socials.
Someone will tweet a guess at us, and I'm like, wow, we're famous.
Yeah, and we are. So they're correct in thinking that.
Well, we'll be on The Masked Singer next season.
Yes.
No, we won't.
Yes. All right, Lauren,
They might contact us to shut us down.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yes, I have the review.
All right.
I recognize his username because we had like a joke in college because his username and everything is Trash Cat Rules. And I thought it was Trash Catrules.
Fair.
Like I just smushed it all up. So yeah, that's his username on Apple reviews. But he said, "Is it the soothing sound of their voices, the logic that is equally withheld and shut down by every reveal? It can only be the chemistry of the host that keeps me so enthralled. Wonderful, just wonderful." Oh. Thanks, Cody.
Thank you so much, Cody.
No, I know. Cody, I don't know if you're listening to this, but yeah, he's a literal angel, one of my favorite people in the world, and yeah, miss you, bud.
Cody's great. I have met Cody a couple of times, and every time I have, he's been fantastic. Really cool dude. So thank you, Trash Catrules. We appreciate it for sure. Alrighty, let's do our Nick Cannon outfit rating, Lauren. Let's do that. So what did Nick don for us this week?
So I gotta be honest, I was kind of like getting my stuff together and getting situated when he first came out. So I don't remember if the cape was black or silver or pink or what.
If I recall, the cape was pink.
Okay, that's
if
what
I recall correctly.
I remembered seeing a lot of pink. Well, and at first I thought it was red. It wasn't until I saw him standing next to the crocodile that I realized he was pink.
Yes.
Because it was like the same color. They were matching.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So he had a pink cape, a black sequin, sparkly mask, not sequin, but sparkly mask, a pink jacket, kind of a satiny kind of texture.
Yep.
A sparkly black pocket square, black pants, and his usual sparkly silver loafers, and also a sparkly silver watch that glinted in the light.
Yes. I will go first as to what I thought of this. You know, I like the more crazy things, and while the color was definitely popped with the pink, it was still overall relatively chill. Besides the color, but because of the color popped and because it was unique, I'm gonna give this an 8.73 out of 10.
8.73. Well, I'm just gonna round that up to a 9.
Wow.
For myself. No, I really, really like this one. Yeah, I thought the pop of color was great. I liked it even more once I realized it was pink.
Yeah.
I thought the sparkly pocket square was a really nice touch. It was like restrained, but also very fun. It was very dapper. I feel like in men's fashion, it's so rare that we see any kind of risk, and this was just enough of a risk.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree.
It was a great balance.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
So good job, Nick. You were continuing to impress me these past couple of weeks, so keep it up, please. If you come out in just a normal black tuxedo again, Nick, we're going to have a problem.
I'll flip the TV.
We're going to have a problem.
No, I won't.
Please don't. But, yes, so do you have any overall thoughts about this show, Lauren? Anything? I'm going to start.
Thoughts? Well, I mean... Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I just have a pre-show thing, actually. I wrote down, I was, so nervous for this episode, especially after you had texted me, of course Lauren didn't give away any spoilers, but she was just texting me that crazy things were happening. And so I was nervous for this episode. I was excited. I was anxious. There were just a lot of emotions flowing through my body at the beginning of this episode.
Literally at the end of the episode, the first reveal I foresaw.
Yeah.
Well, kind of the person, but more so the character.
Yeah.
We kind of knew that person was going to get out. But after that, my heart was pounding.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out who was going home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some other things. Our celebrity guest tonight was Cheryl Hines, our celebrity guest judge. I don't really know Cheryl Hines. I don't watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, so she's most well known. I don't
really watch Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
I've seen enough episodes to recognize her, but. Yeah, but cool.
Yeah,
she was here.
And
I like your dress.
Yeah. I will say,
rainbow sparkly.
I will say, I feel like there are some guest panelists who come on, and I think Joel is a good example of this, who really I don't want to say this because it'll sound negative when I talk about the other people, but I feel like they come on and they really add to the show. They make their presence known. They interact a lot with the other judges. You feel something when they're there.
Well, and it's also just he doesn't feel so much like a guest as much as he feels like, I don't know, if you have a friend group and then you have one person who lives 4 states over. And every once in a while they come visit, and it's the gang's back together again.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like when Joel McHale's on.
Exactly. And then there are the other category of guest panelists. And, if you're a Cheryl Hines super fan, then this is not a diss to her. It's just an overall comment that there are some people who come on and it feels like they just sort of blend in,
It's just not incredibly memorable.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Cheryl Hines was that. But once again, if you're a Cheryl Hines fan, I'm sure you had a lovely time and you thought she stood out. So that's just my biased opinion. But another thing that I wrote down at the beginning, someone good is going out tonight, which really sucks. Because this was a double elimination, 2 people were going out, and as we've talked about, Group B was by far the strongest group. And I think tonight just affirmed that. So it sucked that we really did have someone go out who was really good. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think those are most of my overall show reactions. Do you have any other before we jump into the specific performances?
Yeah, not a whole lot of overall aside from low key, we called it, but we'll get to that later.
Low key, we called it, and that is very much. I have a lot of mixed feelings about especially one of these eliminations, and we're gonna talk about it.
I have a lot of mixed feelings. Well, sorry, we're being so vague, but we just don't want anyone to spoil things that don't want things spoiled right now.
It's called tension. We're building the tension, Lauren.
Just like the Masked Singer did when they went to commercial before
exactly
telling us who was going out.
But the good news is we actually can go in order this time of the performances because
that's true.
Yeah, so we're gonna start off from the top. We're gonna start off with Seahorse. We're gonna talk about her performance first, as always. Seahorse sang "Hit Me Baby One More Time" by Britney Spears. Lauren, what did you think of Seahorse's performance?
I think it would have honestly been impossible for her to top My Heart Will Go On.
Yes.
But this was still a very, very good performance.
Yep.
After watching this, I was like, because I feel like Seahorse was the one person I was like, there's no way she's going home tonight. Like, she's the one I felt super secure about.
Sure.
Yeah. So, I felt like this solidified that. I did think it was a little bit of a risky choice.
Yeah.
Just because she did a little bit more of a Britney style as opposed to just like, I think that I think it would have been potentially smarter for her to switch this with My Heart Will Go On because that was just more of a showstopper.
For sure.
And this was the night when we really needed you to like prove yourself as opposed to everyone else and draw a contrast. And granted, it was easy for her to draw a contrast because she was the only woman left in this group.
That's true.
So I don't think she was really on the chopping block to begin with, but she still did an incredible job, and yeah, she's awesome.
I do agree that this was a very good performance. I think until that last riff that she hit, I thought it was just a solid performance. Like, it was really solid. And once again, and we've talked about this a lot.
It pretty much just it was spot on, just sounded like Britney.
Yeah.
I thought it was an odd choice for someone who is so talented.
I agree. And I think we've talked about this a lot on this season, especially. On any other season, this song would have been like, oh yeah, this could have been someone's best performance.
This song could have been a final performance. Yeah.
Exactly. But on this season, I like you said, I think she could have done a little more to set herself apart. Truthfully, and we're going to talk about this once we get to our next singer, I would not have been completely surprised if she would have been one of the people eliminated.
Really?
Yeah. And now, like you said, if just going off of this week's performance, though, I mean, if we're taking into consideration,
I understand
the previous weeks.
Even just with this week's performance, she still had my favorite performance of the night, even though it wasn't my favorite performance of hers.
Really? See, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That is interesting. I respect it, though. I respect it for sure. Were there any were there any people dancing in hers? I can't remember. I didn't write anything down for her.
There were definitely backup dancers, but I don't remember. I was focused on her. I was focused on the voice.
That's fair. And she has a great voice. She does have an incredible voice. So yeah, do you have anything else to talk about Seahorse?
I don't think so. Not with the performance.
Okay.
So let's get into some clues.
Yes, shall we? Alrighty. So some of the things that were said, let's talk about a euphoric ride. No one knows her soul better than her spiritual advisor, who was had a tissue box as a head. Kind of interesting.
Yeah.
There were twin baby dolls, a Christmas wreath, Real Deal, Girl Next Door, guitar. That might be misspelled. It might just mean guitar.
I think it's guitar.
Yeah.
Well, because they said she walked in with a guitar ready to work.
Yeah. There was Nashville Fried Chicken. There were, of course, the tissues. And the mask from the past was Astronaut, who was Hunter Hayes, who reveals that Seahorse was never in a girl group. So sort of ruins those Fifth Harmony potential guesses that were talked about at the beginning of the season. Were there any other clues that you caught, Lauren?
There was a Christmas wreath. There were some berries. It was in a church in general. There were 2 baby dolls. I don't know if you mentioned that. And also a campfire.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the campfire. I did miss the campfire for sure.
All right. So
yeah, go ahead.
I have some stuff. I told Jackson before we went into this that because I finished the episode a little earlier than he did, I had some time to kind of look up some potential clues with our people who were left. I didn't want to do it during the episode because I truly didn't know who was going home.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So I was a little confused by the 2 baby dolls at first. I looked up because I think it's Tori Kelly based on her cover of My Heart Will Go On. And so I looked up Tori Kelly baby dolls, Tori Kelly 2 babies, and then I looked up Tori Kelly baby.
Oh,
So Amy Grant re-released the song Baby Baby with Tori Kelly.
oh wow, that's good, Lauren. That's good because I feel like all right, settle down. No, I feel like most people would be like, okay, twins, 2 babies, like siblings, etc. But baby is actually really smart. I think that's a really good thing to look up. I did
also.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
After you, I insist.
Also, the background of the clue package was a church.
Yeah.
And she is like well known to be a devout Christian. And then there was a Christmas wreath, and she has done a Christmas album.
Yeah.
So
when they were like, oh, this person's done a Christmas album, I'm like, all right, that narrows it down to every artist ever.
True.
Also, one thing in support of Tori Kelly is the Hunter Hayes clue. She actually, and I'm going to look it up just to make sure I say it right, she beat Hunter Hayes in like a singing competition when they were both kids. Like, he was the runner-up. Yeah, they were like the 2 finalists for some singing competition. Yes,
That's wild.
In 2004, she participated on America's Most Talented Kids, singing Christina Aguilera's Keep On Singing My Song, and won, beating out musician Hunter Hayes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That is a deep cut.
That is a really deep cut.
Which is why it's a good clue for the Masked Singer.
Yeah, and as we've talked about before, she has the cover of My Heart Will Go On, and it sounds pretty much
just like her.
Just like her.
Yeah.
However,
which it's just like one of those things where it's like, yes, it bothers me because we don't get to like guess as much.
Yeah.
However, she sounds incredible in that song, so I understand why she'd want to do it.
Yeah, no, for sure. But what it does, like, why bring it out so soon? If that's what is probably going to be one of your best performances.
Like your show-stopping performance.
Yeah.
No, that does seem kind of crazy.
Especially compared to tonight.
It's again just like, of course, a lot of these clues line up with Tori Kelly, but I just wish there was still a little bit of ambiguity there. That's all.
Well,
anyway.
I'm going to throw just a slight wrench. It's a tiny wrench. Okay. It's probably not going to get caught in anything, but we'll see if it sticks. Just a little baby wrench. So we saw the Nashville Hot Chicken. And a person who was on Nashville, the show, someone who sort of fits sort of a similar sector to Tori Kelly, is one Hayden Panettiere, who is, like I said, on Nashville. She was on Heroes, I believe, which was that one show about superheroes. So just an option. I have not looked into literally any other clue besides that. We just talked about Hayden Panettiere because of the Nashville thing, and I would think it.
And also Hayden. I don't know. That's kind of
it's a bit of a stretch, but I don't know. The only reason why I think that's not as strong, if they wouldn't have written Nashville on the chicken, I would have been like, oh, that's a more deep cut. You have to know
Nashville.
Yeah, you have to know what Nashville Hot Chicken is. But they did write Nashville on it, so it seems a bit on the nose. But who knows? I would like to see Hayden Panettiere. I'm a fan.
That'd be cool.
My mother loves the show Nashville, so it could be that could be cool. But just an option out there to maybe once again to keep you guessing, Lauren. Just to keep you guessing. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the judges' guesses.
Okay. Yes.
So we had Kesha, Kelly Pickler, and Sia.
Yep.
Well, here's the thing, though. With Kelly Pickler, they talked about how she did a duet with Hunter Hayes, but also there were pickles on the chicken.
There were pickles on the chicken. Now,
I don't think it's Kelly Pickler.
I don't think it is either.
American Idol.
Kelly Pickler, as we know from Albemarle, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sonic.
Yeah, and there is no way, in my mind, Kelly Pickler would be able to hide her country accent.
That's definitely fair.
I just don't think she could do it. I would love for Kelly Pickler representing the good old state of North Carolina, but I don't think so.
Yeah, literally, like, what, 20, 30 minutes from your house?
Yeah. I mean, legitimately. We always pass through Albemarle on our way to the beach, so... Fun
fact.
Kesha, also, I don't think it's Kesha. It just doesn't sound like Kesha's voice.
No.
And Sia, I don't know. No.
Sia, I think, could sing like this. I just don't think it's Sia. I just think it's Tori Kelly, that's all.
Yeah, and that's fair. But also, maybe Hayden Panettiere. We're throwing it out there.
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Anything else about old Seahorse before we move on?
Nothing else besides the fact that I love her.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
Now we're moving on to Crocodile, who sang Bleeding Love by Leona Lewis. If you don't mind, I would love to start off in talking about this performance.
Go for it.
I think this was by far my favorite Crocodile performance. I thought they sounded great. It was my favorite performance of the night overall, and I think that it's exactly what they needed to do to stay in, which they did.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, not my favorite performance of the night because that was Seahorse, but this was my favorite performance of theirs.
Yeah.
It definitely sounded like, because, with their first two performances, it sounded like they were clearly trying to show their range.
Yeah.
Right. So their first one, they did like a Bon Jovi song. Next song, they did Toxic, right?
I think you're right, actually. Yes, we were trying to remember
what
it
Britney
was.
Spears in this group.
Britney Spears is very relevant on this.
Getting a lot of play
on
as
this
she
season.
should.
Getting so much play. Yes, Britney.
Yeah.
Also, I hope Britney's okay. I know there's been a lot of talk about her,
Yeah.
just having some tough times. So Britney,
Yeah.
we support you.
Free Britney.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, but then, obviously this one was completely different. And this one to me sounded the most like, okay, this is what he actually sounds like.
I think
Crocodile,
Crocodile,
this seems like his sweet spot.
Yes, I think Crocodile has actually been the smartest contestant so far, personally.
I agree, because he really saved the big guns.
He did.
Tonight.
And not only that, but he showed his range in the first couple of performances, and it's like, oh, this guy can do a lot, which even if the audience members who are voting don't remember that, the judges certainly remember that. And then once again, saving his best performance for this episode is smart, because this is the time where Crocodile easily could have gone out tonight. Not
easily.
Because
I mean, I expected Crocodile to go out tonight,
exactly,
even though he's great.
Yeah, not because he's bad, just because of the other competition and the way this is structured. And I do want to talk about the structure of this overall competition later, because I think it's whatever. It's not perfect, I don't think, but I think Crocodile, once again, the smartest performer we have seen, possibly the most has the most range of anyone we've seen, at least from what they've shown us.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because Mushroom could show us something different. We'll see.
Yeah, I want them to, because underwhelming so far, personally.
I agree.
Underwhelming.
Anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, I also love that song. I think it's a great song and a great choice for Crocodile. I also, the more I see that costume, the more I love it. I think it is so dope.
I like it more the more I see it too.
Yeah.
It's still not my favorite, but I like it.
I think
I also just really liked him matching Nick.
Yeah, it was a good look. It was definitely a good look. So if that is all that you have, Lauren, I think we can move on to the clues. Alrighty. So, talked about blood, sweat, and tears. Interviewer to the stars said Crocodile is their ride or die. They've been all over the world together and traveled 6 continents in 100 hours. That's crazy. They're a softie who puts their heart into everything, even video games. Talked about Step by Step, One Track Mind, Lucky Lizard Scratch Ticket, Mask... Excuse me. God, my body is revolting. Mask from the Past is B, who was Gladys Knight, as we know from Season 1, who reveals Crocodile was in a huge cult classic movie.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about just a couple of these clues.
Sure.
So we have discussed how we think that this is Nick Carter.
Nick Carter.
From the Backstreet Boys.
Yes.
So there was also, I don't think you mentioned this, but in the clue package there was a House of Cards.
I did not mention that,
and his
but
family
there was.
has a reality show called House of Carters.
Oh, that's good.
And then the lottery ticket, I remember during the episode, I noticed the number on it. It was win 130 million.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And the Backstreet Boys broke a record for selling 130 million records worldwide.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was like a Guinness World Record.
Yeah, I took note of that for sure, but I, A, did not look into it, and B, was not sure what it meant, but that's really good.
Yeah. I don't know. Let me look up. I want to figure out what the cult classic thing is real quick.
So,
let me check on that.
So we've talked about this briefly. One of the clues, I think in his first clue package, was him riding a slide. I don't know if you would consider this a cult classic movie, but he was the kid who rode the slide in Sweeney Todd, I believe. Or was it Edward Scissorhands?
A slide? No, Edward Scissorhands. We did talk about this.
Edward
'Cause
Scissorhands.
I don't think there's a slide in Sweeney Todd.
There you go.
I think that's pre-playground.
Okay, sure. So then it was Edward Scissorhands then.
Yeah. And which is definitely a cult classic that qualifies. And that's a very small role, which is a great clue.
Yeah, I agree. So once again, definitely matches up. I don't know who else it could be. I unfortunately am not as familiar with my my 90s, early 2000s boy bands, maybe as much as I should be.
True. No, I mean, me neither.
Yeah, so I think that's a good guess. Justin Timberlake, just because NSYNC. But yeah, I think Nick Carter is a good guess. I am, now I'll say this. As much as I am torn up about one of the people who did go out, I am happy to see Crocodile get more performances. Because I think Crocodile's going to show us a lot.
Crocodile can show a lot more.
I'm excited. I am excited.
Okay, wait. I have another update on a clue with the Gladys Knight thing.
Okay.
So one of the judges, I forget which one, guessed Jordan Knight because of the Gladys Knight thing.
Yes.
Part of what I think the connection might be, there's definitely a possibility that Nick Carter has performed with Gladys Knight, but there's also an album called Nick and Knight with Nick Carter and Jordan Knight.
Oh, wow. That's great. That's actually really
That's a
funny.
big old crossover.
Yeah. And, once again, I think that could definitely be the case. Now, did they say, when they brought out the old contestants, did they say that it was for sure someone they had performed with or just someone who they had a connection with?
No, just a connection.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, then in that case, I think that's right. Oh. Hold on. Gladys Knight. He's the man singer crying out there. Is this famous boy bander. Gladys Knight. This is unlistenable.
Sorry, I thought when you made that sound, there was something with the sound.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, yeah. There is an article that talks about the same thing you just said about the album called Nick and Knight. So
yeah,
I think that's really good.
I also, so some of the other guesses, there was Jordan Knight, as we mentioned.
Yes.
Robin Thicke actually had a pretty good guess with Justin Guarini.
Yeah.
Who you might know from the Dr. Pepper commercials. It's a sweet one.
Oh, is that him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's him.
I did not know that.
Well, he mentioned the Dr. Pepper commercial.
Gotcha.
And I mean, he clearly has the falsetto. I'm not familiar enough with his voice to really pass a judgment, but the clues seem to match up from what Robin Thicke was saying. There was something about like an Italian and American reality.
Yeah.
Like that was the whole thing with him.
No, for sure.
Yeah, so I thought that was good. However, I think it lines up better with Nick Carter. So
I definitely agree. I think it's almost certainly going to be Nick Carter, like we have talked about.
Yeah.
So yeah, now I think we can move on to our two contestants who were eliminated this evening.
Big sad.
Yeah, big sad. Actually, truthfully, big sad for the both of them, and we'll talk about that as we get into it. But first one we're going to talk about it is Whatchamacallit, who sang "Lean Back" by Terror Squad featuring Fat Joe and Remy Ma. So, Lauren, what did you think of the performance?
I thought it was... So, I don't know if it was my favorite one. I think I might have liked his last one a little bit more.
Yep.
However, after he took off the mask, I thought he was much better.
Oh, interesting. Okay, when he was performing without the mask?
Yeah, he seemed like a lot more relaxed.
Sure. I imagine it's tough. I can't imagine he had any visibility in that mask. Like,
no,
like
no way.
There's absolutely no way.
So much hair.
I have, especially last week and this week, or last time he performed, of course, I have really enjoyed Whatchamacallit's performances, and I am kind of sad that we don't get to see any more, because once again,
because I don't think we really have any rappers left.
We certainly don't, and unless Crocodile brings out a rap, which I wouldn't be surprised if he tried, just considering what he's done. But I like the change of pace with the rap. I think, and this might be a hot take, I think Whatchamacallit, his flow was almost on par with Frog's. He just did not have the same dancing skills that Frog had, which I think is really what catapulted Frog, of course. But I think in another season, we'd see Whatchamacallit go further. I really do.
Oh, 100%.
Because
sure.
I think I thought he had surprisingly good stage presence. I think he was enjoyable.
And I just think that costume moved so well.
It moved so well. And he used it well. He actually really did use it well, I think, especially in the character still. So I really appreciated all of his performances, especially going out, especially someone as a rapper, which, you know, I mean, obviously we saw Busta Rhymes earlier this season, and we saw Giraffe try, but, you know, I think Whatchamacallit, I think as we now know to be Lonzo Ball, you know, I think the fact that Lonzo Ball lasted longer than Busta Rhymes might turn some heads, but, you know, after hearing him, doesn't turn as many heads. My head is only slightly cocked right now, so
yeah. So all I'm saying is, speaking of Lonzo Ball,
yes.
Ken mentioned that BBB clue, and I just want to say we tag teamed that right when that clue package came out.
We certainly did.
Because I was like, those are 3 Bs, and you were like, BBB.
Big baller brand, Lonzo Ball. Yeah, I am happy because I have been sitting on this Lonzo Ball take for a little while, and I'm glad it certainly came to fruition with this one. And fun fact, actually, Lonzo Ball's brother, LaMelo, was actually just drafted to the Charlotte Hornets last night. So we're gonna have a ball in the Queen City, which will be cool.
Go.
So yeah. Let's talk about
Mellow marshmallows, like Nicole was on.
Exactly. So yeah, let's talk about the clues just for a second. Hopes their swag will carry them through. They want to exceed expectations. Their high school mentor reveals that Whatchamacallit always surprises. There was coffee, a crown, Smarties candy. There was a British guard. Masked from the past was Ice Cream, who, as we found out, was Ninja, who reveals that Whatchamacallit has won a championship before. Yeah, anything you have to talk about with that, Lauren? Anything that jumped out at you? I actually the brewing thing and like the brewing coffee. Actually, I thought was really
smart.
clever.
I was just gonna talk about that.
Yeah,
the Bruins. Yeah.
Yeah, that was super clever.
Yeah, those are all the big things. Yeah, well, because I know Lonzo Ball is a pretty big gamer too, right?
I think so. Yeah, to my knowledge, yeah. I'm sure he's done a collab with Ninja.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, I feel like especially in quarantine, a lot of athletes that, you know, aren't really able to do their sport as much right now, or at least not in the same way.
Exactly.
Have definitely kind of turned to gaming.
Yeah, totally.
As, you know, a way to stay busy, stay in the spotlight, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Some of the guesses were Ken guessed correctly with Lonzo Ball. Good for Ken. And then also Carmelo Anthony and JB Smoove were guesses. I would have loved, and Donald Faison, which is interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I would have loved to see him or JB Smoove, actually, because I love both of them. But you know, I was pleasantly surprised with Lonzo Ball. Thank you to my dad. I think was the one who put the clue in my mind at first. So shout out to you, Pops. I took it. I ran with it. I hope I made you proud.
And I agreed with it.
And yes, and Lard agreed with it. So a triple tag team there for Whatchamacallit. Yeah, sad to see him go. Really, really sad. And truthfully, I think he's better than at least 2 out of the 3 people in Group C. So,
yeah,
you know, it is sad to see him go. But that is the name of the game. Alrighty,
I just really wish they would have like divided these groups a little more evenly in terms of talent.
Yes, for sure.
Because it's so sad that we had to see this next person we're talking about, Serpent, go home tonight.
Yes.
When Serpent would have absolutely made it if he was in Group C.
Yes. Okay. Actually, one more thing before we get off of Whatchamacallit. Did you notice the dancers in the background to his song?
No.
They were like
I just saw the lean. I remember them doing the lean back thing, but I don't remember what they were wearing.
They were similar to, you know, those big inflatable like dudes with the long arms that you see in front of like used car lots and stuff. Yeah. Except these were like thicker. They were thicker and they were just like wild. I actually loved it. I thought it fit really well with Whatchamacallit's aesthetic, especially with that song. Yeah.
I totally remember it now. Yeah.
And once again, the Masked Singer showing how unhinged it is. You have to love it. Those guys were vibing in the back. I just love, those things are funny because they're like tall and skinny and they just like move around. These dudes were like still tall, but they were a little shorter and stockier, and I kind of like that.
It's the you of the used car salesman inflatable guy.
Exactly. Just a couple of thick boys out there supporting their boy Whatchamacallit. And I really appreciated that. So
my mom, whenever we would see one of those things, it would always be outside of the wing zone in Cloverleaf Plaza where the CC's Pizza was.
Oh,
and,
of course.
Yeah, my mom would always see them and they'd be like, please come to our store.
Exactly. We need some more thick boys.
Shout out to you, Mom.
Yes, shout out, mother. Alrighty, shall we move on to our final performance of the night?
We shall.
Okay, so
I'm so sad.
I know. So our final performance of the night was Serpent, who sang "Cool" by the Jonas Brothers. What did you think of this this performance, Lauren?
I don't think it was my favorite of Serpent, but I did still think it was very good.
I agree. I thought, and this is hard, I think this might have been my least favorite performance of Serpent's. But
yeah, of Serpent's. I thought you were going to say of the night. I
No.
was like, what?
But that is saying a lot because this performance was still very good.
I
Especially
absolutely agree.
especially when he sort of did his own thing there at the end of that song. It really showed off his voice so well, his gorgeous tone. He's an incredible singer, has so much control over his voice, and I think it showed. It was even being my least favorite performance of his, it was still, once again, this performance in any other season would be a fantastic final performance. This could have won you.
He would have been a finalist in any other performance, in any other season.
And it's really, really, really sad to see him go out because from the beginning of the season, from his first performance, I said this man's top 3. This man has the potential to win it all, and for him to not even make the final 6 is criminal. I'm gonna say it. It is criminal.
I agree.
Masked Singer, we're pressing charges. Another thing about a quick bright side to his performance, they used the CGI much better for him. They had the elephants in the background that, while did not make sense with the song, they actually moved and interacted with things, so they were not as creepy as the breathing centaurs. Yeah. So I thought that was a cool use of it.
With Serpent, as soon as his performance ended, in my head I was like, that was good, but I think he's going home tonight. And I couldn't believe I was thinking it.
Okay, so
but it happened.
That thought did cross my mind, especially for the first 2/3 of the song. Then he started improvising and doing his own thing, and I was like, there's no way he's going out. There's literally no way he's going out.
I don't know. The beginning of the song was my favorite part, to be honest.
Really?
I really love how he sounds in that kind of lower register.
Sure. I mean, he sounded great the whole time. I'm gonna be honest.
He did, yeah.
After his performance, I thought that it was going to be Serpent and Crocodile to move on. As much as I think Seahorse is incredibly talented, as much as I like Seahorse a lot, I just thought, and now I thought Crocodile saved himself because of his performance tonight, and I thought Serpent had the better overall. I think the average of his 3 performance, in my opinion, were better than the average of Seahorse's 3 performance. So I thought that was going to elevate him.
Agree.
I think you're blinded. I think you're blinded by the what was her last performance?
My Heart Will Go On?
Yes, I think you're blinded by the My Heart Will Go On performance.
All performances have been great.
I think all of her performances have been great. I just thought all of Serpent's performance, especially his first 2, I would say
Okay.
Go ahead.
I don't think Serpent showed enough variety in his performances.
And
I don't think that, because he did his first performance, it was great. I don't think he's really surprised us all that much since then.
Do you think Seahorse?
With a stylistic choice?
Do you think Seahorse has shown that much range?
Yeah.
I mean,
you've heard her sing. It's she's probably spanned 3 octaves in that singer.
Well, sorry, not range as in.
I know what you mean.
Okay.
I know what you mean. No, but I mean, she did. Okay, she did "Only Girl in the World," very poppy. She did "My Heart Will Go On," power ballad, and then she did this one, which is I mean,
Poppy.
yes, Britney Spears is pop, but like Britney Spears is a very specific type of pop.
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, but I think Serpent.
And like, I feel like she's a great all-around performer too.
Sure.
And I think Serpent is a fine all-around performer.
I personally think Serpent showed just as much like range as Seahorse. And
Okay.
you know, it could be my bias because as a man, you know, I do like to hear a sweet, silky man's voice, you know, because I wish it could be me. I wish it could be me, and that's a fact. But but I will say, and now I think we can get into talking about who this was. I simultaneously was very upset when I found out who it was because they were going out, but also a bit relieved. So, Lauren, do you want to tell the people who this was, who got out?
Okay. So we have been making jokes about how the Serpent is Dr. Elvis all season.
Yes.
I did not expect it to be true.
Yes. From before the season, we were like, man, you know who would be great on The Masked Singer? Dr. Elvis.
We were like, well, because as soon as we saw him perform in After the Mask, we were like, what if next season The Masked Singer, Dr. Elvis comes on, haha.
Yeah.
And then we saw Serpent, we saw the pill bottles, and we were like, haha, Dr. Elvis, before we even heard him sing.
Yeah.
And then we heard him sing, and we were like, oh, it's probably someone like a Leslie Odom Jr. or a Taye Diggs or Chris Jackson, but also maybe Dr. Elvis. Like, it was there the whole time.
Yeah. And
we just, I think it was, like, truly the only reason that I did not, like, fully commit to Dr. Elvis as a guest was because I just did not think they would do it. I didn't think they would do it this early.
I 100% agree.
He's pretty much only famous because of this.
Yeah. And apparently he had that big cover.
I guess he did that concert.
And that cover of Imagine, which I actually have not heard, and that might be...
Well, I think that was like what skyrocketed him to fame, like through YouTube.
Okay, interesting.
From what I understand.
Okay, cool. So what, so that was that before...
That was before After the Mask, I believe.
Oh.
So like he posted that cover and everyone shared it because they were like, first responder during COVID, great song, super inspiring. So then he got an After the Mask, and then I believe he did that benefit concert, I want to say.
Okay, yeah.
And now here he is.
Yeah. And
I will say something that is disappointing, though, is I would have liked to have seen him go to the finals just because he isn't all that famous.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, I'm sure he'll be fine in the sense that, like, I think at this point he's reached a level of fame where he could come out with an album that people will listen to it.
Yeah.
He could really come out with an album if he had made it to the finals.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree. I wonder, so a couple things. Number one, I thought it was kind of interesting and also a little bit funny how they were kind of just alluding to it really hard this episode specifically because they had the ambulance again. Dr. Clue.
Yeah.
One of their clues, they had Dr. Drew come out as the Eagle, who was his, like, you know, person who he was related to on The Masked Singer. Then they
had the Elvis sandwich stuff.
They had the Elvis sandwich stuff, and they had this person has performed with one of the people on the panel. And as we both know, he performed that amazing duet with Nicole. I just thought it was funny how they really laid it on thick, which brings me to my second point. And once again, I could be just being a little too woke on this. I wonder if this was another situation of the producers pulling some strings, because if you think about it, Dr. Elvis is a doctor during the worst pandemic in recent history. So maybe he's busy. I mean, obviously there are more doctors. Obviously there are people who probably could fill in, but, you know, doctors are in a great need right now. So I wonder if maybe he just as we talked about with other actual celebrities who couldn't commit to being on the show for a while, I wonder if Dr. Elvis couldn't commit to being on this show for much longer as well.
Yeah, but I don't know. At the same time, though, he is a surgeon.
I mean,
like, I don't know if he's necessarily someone who would be, you know, like in the ICU with COVID patients.
I mean, sure, but still, I think it's interesting just because.
Yeah.
I
don't know, though. I was trying to put myself in the mindset of the audience and be like, okay, just going off these performances, in my mind, there was no doubt in my mind that Seahorse was safe. And I know that you don't feel that way, but I feel like there was no doubt in my mind that Seahorse was safe, especially because she drew the most contrast with the rest simply because she was the only woman left in the group.
That's fair.
So between that, and I just feel like kind of like how we talked about with, when Astronaut had to go up against Turtle and they filled too much of the same niche.
Yeah.
I think that we knew Whatchamacallit was going home, and I think Serpent and Crocodile in this group filled too much of the same niche, and it had to be one of them that went.
I think so.
And I just think tonight's performances alone, I thought Crocodile nailed it.
I hear that, and I definitely respect that. I want there are actually a lot of things that I want to talk about now at this point.
Okay.
So obviously with Serpent, I was really riding hard that it was Christopher Jackson, and even after hearing him sing tonight, I was convinced that it was Christopher Jackson.
I will say, because I wasn't really backing you up on the Chris Jackson thing, but after tonight, I was like, oh, that was like Chris Jackson.
Yeah, it really did, and that this gets to my point of why I was a bit relieved when he was unmasked, because obviously I thought Dr. Elvis had the talent to make it to the finals. But if it was Christopher Jackson, I would have been even more disappointed that he got out, because I think Christopher Jackson definitely has the talent to make it to the finals. Lauren and I
Absolutely.
also we also have a bit of a I say personal connection. We met Christopher Jackson once after seeing
we
him
did. We
in
saw
Hamilton.
and he was one of the few cast members that came out after the show, because at that point it was like super popular.
Yeah, he came out after the show and he took a picture with us, which I think which was incredible, and obviously a great memory for both of us. And I
truly regret trying not to take up his time and being like taking the picture hastily, because only like half of my face is in it.
Yeah. But I love him in Hamilton. I loved him in The Heights. I think he's a great performer. I think he's a great singer and just a great guy. So I am a bit relieved that it wasn't him, because I would not have wanted him to go out that early.
I agree.
Yeah,
it's just, so we said that we were going to talk about like, what I think you also think are some flaws in just the structure of this season.
Yep.
Yeah, of course we love the Masked Singer, but we saw someone who definitely had finals material go home tonight.
Go home, and
that breaks my heart.
And excuse me, sorry. Once again, body revolting tonight. But I think it's really tough too when you look at Group C. And Group A, I can understand. It's like, obviously Sun, who I still think is going to win it. I especially now think is going to win it all. And then you have Popcorn, obviously someone who's a legend. That makes sense. Group B obviously was the most stacked group as far as talent goes. Like, there were three people who I think could have made a run for the finals in Seahorse, now what we've seen from Crocodile, and Serpent. Then you just look at Group C, and I don't think anyone in Group C is better than any of the people we have in the final six right now. Like,
I agree.
That might be a hot take, especially if there are any Mushroom stands out there. Once again, I have been underwhelmed by Mushroom. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just think Mushroom probably has a high ceiling. I think Mushroom has the capability to blow us away, but he has not done it so far.
I agree. I'm interested to see what Mushroom is going to do. However, Jellyfish is fine. We don't think Jellyfish is a singer, which makes sense. And then we have Broccoli, who's once again an older person, maybe a legend, but still just fine. They're probably going out next week. So most likely it's going to be Jellyfish, Mushroom, Crocodile, Seahorse, Sun, and Popcorn. And I think easily Serpent could replace Mushroom or Jellyfish. And then
and potentially even Popcorn.
Yeah, I think so too. I really think so too.
It's just really sad that he had to go home. And I just wish that this had been structured more like last season, where we went down to the final 9.
Yeah.
Because then we could have kept Crocodile, Serpent, and Seahorse.
Yeah, I think final 9 makes more sense. I guess I understand why they have to start off in groups and then go like this, just to separate out the episodes.
So they can shoot everything the same day.
Exactly.
Yeah, and get these celebrities out of here.
But the fact that it's down to a final 6, and also the fact that there's such an inequity in groups, I think they were expecting Group C to be stronger than it actually is.
Yeah.
And I think they just haven't shown that so far. And once again, if there are any Mushroom or Jellyfish stands, sorry, but it is, I think it's more of just pretty clear that the way this season is structured has some flaws. Because to see Serpent go out so soon after a performance that, while, it wasn't his best for sure, was still very good and better than anything we've seen from Jellyfish or Mushroom, I think you have to look and be like, something might be off here.
Yeah. So sorry for that rant. Yeah, I'm just so sad that Serpent had to go when he did.
I am too, because I really liked Serpent. Gone too soon, Serpent. Congrats, Dr. Elvis. I thought it was really sweet hearing Ken talk about Dr. Elvis.
Yeah.
It was very sweet, very heartfelt, and I really liked that moment in the show. One more thing.
Crying in the Airbnb.
Yeah, crying in the Airbnb. One more thing I want to talk about is now what we think the final 3 is going to shape up to be. Because for the longest time, I think we both thought it was going to be Sun, Seahorse, and Serpent. Yeah. So what is your final 3 looking like at this point, Lauren?
I still think Sun and Seahorse.
I think so too.
I still think Sun is going to win unless Sun does a not quite as good as expected performance and Seahorse does a better than expected performance in the finals.
Yeah.
Because we have seen people get robbed before at Chris Daughtry.
Yes.
Love you.
Love you, Rat Weather.
But I don't know. That last one, I think that spot is kind of open. So
I
that
think so
could
too.
be Crocodile. I could definitely see it being Crocodile. If Mushroom decides to surprise us at some point, I could see it being Mushroom.
If Mushroom gets his act
Sorry,
together.
No, I could see it being Mushroom. I could definitely see it being Crocodile, especially after this week's performance and just the range that he has. I could see it being Popcorn. Yeah, we'll see. But I think that's really the only spot that's up for grabs, because I think Seahorse and Sun are definitely going.
Now, let me ask you this, Lauren. We talked a little bit about how 2 performers sort of filling the same place. Do you think Seahorse and Sun have that potential to knock one of the others out of the finals because of that?
I think there is that potential if they are put in a situation where they have to go head to head.
Okay.
So, for example, if they take this final 6 and they make it like this person against this person, this person against this person, this person against this person, the loser has to like be in the vote to go home or something like that.
Sure.
If that is the case, I could see if like they literally make the audience choose one or the other.
Yeah.
Then yes.
Yeah.
But I think that's really. I think the only scenario where that would happen is, again, if they're placed against each other. Because if we take this group of final 6 and see all of them in one night, I don't think there's any way they're not making it into the finals.
I think you're right.
I don't know. I think that Mushroom would really have to blow us away, because I could definitely see Crocodile having a spot in the finals, like I said. But I think to knock one of the other ones out of the finals, Crocodile would be Mushroom would have to be the one to do that.
Yeah. I tend to agree with you. I think if we're just basing it on talent alone, what we have seen so far, I think it's going to be Sun, Seahorse, Crocodile, personally. Now, Popcorn...
No, I agree.
I think Popcorn has continued to get stronger, so Popcorn could maybe surprise us. Once again, we've only seen 2 performances from Group C, granted. But, like, I want more from Mushroom. Maybe I have too high of expectations. Maybe going in, I was like, Mushroom's going to be great, and they just haven't been that for me. So
well, I just think that he's been trying to show off his falsetto, which of course is impressive, but frankly, Mushroom, I am sick of it. Give me a real voice.
Lord said, oh, that's so funny. I'm sick of it. So yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be really interesting once we get down to the final 6. I am excited for that. It is going to be great. What an episode. What an episode of The Masked Singer.
Blew my mind.
Absolutely blew my mind. I was, wow.
Yeah. Hey, and what an episode of Who Is That? The Masked Singer podcast.
Was that on? Were we on the same? I have no idea.
Oh, probably not.
Okay. Well, we'll see. When
just edit it together. Sync the tracks.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Impossible. But
work your magic.
I think that's gonna be all for us. Next week we're gonna be back, same time, same place for the Group C finals. And
yeah. Oh, and actually, I mean, I guess kind of a happy thing to come out of a sad thing.
Sure.
Jackson is no longer going home for Thanksgiving,
Yep.
so we will both be in town to record it together next week.
we will. I guess. Do you think they'll have an episode next week?
I mean, it's Wednesday. It's the day before Thanksgiving. So
I guess.
I guess so. Right?
Okay. Sure. Probably. Hopefully. For
I hope
us,
so.
we should be out the same time. I guess that means we will be recording on Thanksgiving, which is fine. And yeah, it should be good. It should be a fun time. Group C finals. Yeah, I think that's all I have, Lauren.
All right, that's all I have. So
Alrighty.
see you next week.
Alrighty.
And thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, y'all, so much. See you next week on
With
With It.
the Masked Singer podcast.
It was close.
I have no idea if we were together. Bye, guys.